Hey guys, what is up? I actually just got done watching the I'm Standing on a Million Lives first episodes, and I thought, as someone who has already read the manga, it would be a great idea to kind of tell you guys, or rather even show you guys, the changes that the anime from I'm Standing on a Million Lives has made in comparison to the manga. So, what did they cut out? What did they skip? What do they? Which kind of elements of the manga did they skip and might just tell us in a later episode instead? So, if you are interested in these kind of things, please leave a like and a comment below, and let's get into it. So, the most important change that the anime made to the manga is actually the fact that the anime added scenes. Yes, you heard it right. The anime actually added something to the manga. So, the whole beginning sequence of the first episode where we see the main character, Yusuke, sitting in his class, walking outside school, walking past people, talking about the two, or at least the blonde female main character. Yes, those were all added scenes. Those weren't in the manga itself. Or how the dude opens a magazine and sees that the blonde girl, Shindo-san, is actually a model that actually isn't shown in the manga. Instead, it's just a kind of off panel somewhere in the first chapter where it kind of speaks about the fact that Shindo-san is a model. But in the anime, they actually show us that fact through a much better way, through a much more natural way, if that makes sense. So pretty much, the first chapter itself starts off with the the teacher, the homeroom teacher of the main character Yusuke, berating him and telling him about his future prospect and about his future high school, just like we have seen in the anime. Only this time, they kind of hint more to the fact that he could still get into a good high school in Tokyo, and the fact that the main character just absolutely somehow, for some reason, hates Tokyo or is totally not interested. He even says it, I'm not interested in schools in Tokyo anyway. So that's pretty much the most important change in this part. It pretty much the manga show does a better job of showing the main character's feeling and his standing in pretty much his middle school currently and pretty much society overall. Although the anime, by adding those couple of scenes at the beginning of the episode, did kind of showcase the same thing. So I feel like they pretty much traded in dialogue in return for more scenes, more showcases of which works better in an anime anyway. Also, in the manga, the main character actually mentions that the second girl, so not the blonde girl, but instead Ako Zaki-san, is actually physically very weak, and that the main character absolutely knows nothing about her except for this fact that she is kind of physically on the weaker side. And I must say, the anime did say in kind of a throwaway line that Oka's Hako Zaki-san skips physical education, so she skips the gym class, which kind of tells us that yes, she isn't able to participate in physical activities, which is kind of a funny thing, as if you have seen that first episode, you would, and especially if you've seen my reaction to it, you would know that the basic attributes of each person in that world gets amplified with a factor. So their basic upper body strength might be twice as much as in the real world. But if you have absolutely no upper body strength, then that would just mean that even when you get transported in that whole isekai section of the world, you would still have a body strength of next to none, if that makes sense. Then the anime does a much better job of the whole transportation to the other world, where the main character in the anime, of course, stands before a blackboard, which gets all kinds of weird symbols and figures written on it all of a sudden, which is just much more of a cinematic way of showcasing his transportation to that world. Whereas in the manga, yeah, the manga just his vision just goes from normal to white, and then also the bang, he's in the world. Also in the manga, the dude with half a face, Shinozaki-san. Also in the manga, the dude with half a face, Shindo-san, actually calls him a pervert, which he should. He kind of likes holding his own, you know, kind of weird. Kind of a small change, but in the manga, the game master explains the whole premise of the quest and stuff. Actually, in the world itself, so they're just standing between the trees and the grass and the weird freaking creatures lurking in the background. While in the anime, he kind of is in some sort of space weird thing. Yeah, kind of off. But not that's not really a big change or anything, you know. But yeah, after that, again, Shindo-san kicks our main character. He again mentions that it doesn't hurt, so that's still the same. Only difference here is that the explanation about the three people and the reviving and if all three of them die, that's actually done by the game master it himself, rather than Shindo-san while she's sitting up in the tree. This does, however, give us a bit of a different view on Yusuke, our main character, since in the anime it seems like he just blindly charges at a goblin, gets his shit rocked, and dies. But in the manga, he actually knows that he's able to revive. So him charging into a goblin like that isn't as dumb or even stupid as the anime makes it seem. Also, a tidbit of information, which I also mentioned in my reactions, so please go watch that. But yeah, the each of the characters has a status screen that shows up in the episodes when they get introduced. And the status screen has percentages, which pretty much are the percentage of their basic attributes that they're able to use. So to explain it a bit more clearly, for example, we see that our girl Shindo Yu has an upper body percentage of 83%, while in the real world she is supposed to be very athletic, very strong. That 83% kind of hampers her that athleticism that she has, and it lowers it by a whole 27%. So her strength is only 83% of what she is actually able to use in the regular world. Also, the manga actually shows what percentage chance is of obtaining the class when spinning the wheel. So, for example, there are 3 different types of warriors: a sword, spear, and axe warrior. And the sword warrior has a 20%, while the spear and axe warriors both have a 12.5% of being obtained. And actually, the main character's class is of the other 5 mixed types, which each has a 0.5% chance of getting drawn. So yeah, that farmer class of his, pretty freaking rare. pretty freaking unlucky. Now the whole encounter with the goblins was completely changed. In the manga, it is a pretty small and insignificant part of the first episode, where the dude just charges as the goblins and where his stuff just breaks, and then it quickly skips to the three of our characters, our main characters, sitting around a small campfire. So pretty much the whole him hitting the goblin and his stuff breaking was shown in the anime, but the anime actually expands much more on that scene by having the main character actually die and revive, as well as the other two characters showing off their skills, such as the magician showing off her wind skills, so Shindo-san, and our other girl kind of cowering behind the bush. So yeah. So in a way, that kind of makes me think that the anime actually changes things for the better, at least for now, where the explanations that they usually gave were were done much more through dialogue, whereas the anime prefers to actually show the stuff. Then, however, the anime does end up skipping something very big, and that is our main character, Yusuke, looking at his stats and the stats of his two female companions and actually explaining and thinking about it. So he actually clearly says that his stats are displayed by percentage number. When they are at a certain level, I'm able to use an ability related to the stat. So he actually explains that. And that compared with the crazy numbers of the warrior and the low but able to use magic stats of the magician, farmer is actually weak. So while the farmer has, as you have probably seen in the episode, percentages above 100% and even 200% compared to that of a warrior, it's actually pretty weak, and the magician is able to use magic, so the stats decreases don't really matter since they're able to use magic. And who doesn't want to use magic? Now, another big change from the manga to the anime is the whole lock point that they show in the anime. Actually, in the manga, it's just our main character that discovers this lock point on his own, and he then sees the two girls talking to each other. And actually, the girl Shindo-san, she actually asks the other girl, Ako Zaki-san. I might have butchered that name, but nevertheless, she actually asks her, which type of guy would you most want to be transferred to this world with? And Hakozaki-san actually mentions a dude named Yamada-kun, since he seems to be a national judo competitor. Whereas Shindo-san actually says, no, that's not right. I meant what type of guy would you rather be with? So Shindo-san actually mentions the name Yotsuya-kun, which is also the name of our main character. But in that school, there are actually two people named Yotsuya-kun. So he isn't completely sure if it's actually him, which is kind of a funny thing, I guess. But that was kind of skipped in the anime. The anime then kind of follows the manga pretty closely, up until the point where the dude decides to leave Ako Zaki-san alone and go do some grinding. The anime actually changes something. They actually show a scene where the dude is playing his game and where one of the characters in the game is slowly losing health while he keeps on repeating die, 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 and die. And yeah, that's where the episode ends. So the episode ends pretty much halfway through chapter 1, which I do recommend reading chapter 1, since it explains things, I guess, a bit more clearly, whereas the anime explains it a bit more implicitly. So you need to do a bit more thinking with the anime, which isn't a bad thing. Uh, As far as I can see, the anime is a very enjoyable experience, especially with those extra scenes that they put in, that kind of put things more in a better perspective, or so to say, that gives a better overview of the characters' actual emotions and feelings. So yeah, that those were pretty much the biggest changes between the anime and the manga. Uh, I Episode one was very well done. It wasn't rushed at all. I only went halfway through the first chapter, although the first chapter is pretty on the long side as it is. So yeah, definitely a great first episode. Definitely a great freaking adaptation. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I know this was a bit rough since I didn't prepare anything. I pretty much just quickly read through the first chapter and told you guys immediately the things that I saw, the changes that I saw. Uh, I'm planning on next time watching the episode, then reading the chapter, and then kind of getting my thoughts more straight, so it can be so this kind of video can be a bit more streamlined, or so to say. But for now, it will have to do, right? Anyway, thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time, and peace.